Hello and welcome to another stamp class. It's Thursday, which is probably one of my favorite days of the week because I get to stamp with you guys. Let's see, today's class is Zany Zoo, and we're featuring the entire suite collection. I think it's called Zoo Crew, the entire suite collection. And I should have looked up what page it's on in the catalog, but it is a fun suite. It's definitely playful, cheerful, happy, and all that good stuff. So, Marcia McCune, hello and welcome today to class. And that's my cue to officially begin with good Thursday morning and welcome to the Backstage Pass. Today's class is our biggest class of the month called Technique Time. And in this Technique Time class, we are featuring the Zany Zoo Suite Collection. So yes, Marcia, she's here. Awesome. Okay, so much to do today. It's definitely a class filled with a lot. I think if you've seen the pictures of the cards inside and out, that there are a lot of details. So we've got some fun stuff ahead. So here comes the hand, and we're going to go ahead and switch the camera so we can just go over a little bit of business and then a lot of stamping. Here we go. Okay, here, let's see. We don't want to look at the ceiling. There we go. Okay. It's always fun to try and figure out all the technical things. You don't need to see a cord in the way. All right, so I said today's class is Technique Time. Here's my kit. Let me just share with you what is coming up. There's not a class next week because I will be in Denver for my nephew Jared's wedding. And that's going to be fun. Get to hang out. I haven't seen Jared in a long time. But so I'll be there for that in Denver. I'm going there with Nicholas. So my son, Nicholas. Anyhow, so Upstyle is in 2 weeks. And that will be for the Meaningful Flowers Paper Pumpkin Kit. You've probably got yours. But here is what's coming up for the first week of September. So that is on its way. It'll be a good one. And we have coming up after that, we do have a pickup class on the 21st of September. And that will be the Rustic Crate bundle. You guys, this is a super cool little bundle. This crate, this 3D crate really intrigued me. But it's going to be fun. So we'll do some fun fall things with that. And that will be on the 21st. So you'll notice there's no Use It Up class in September either, because we're going to go to Denver for the wedding, and then they're all coming here to Boise. And so we're going to be hanging out until about the 13th of September. And so I'm hanging out with family. So that's what's going on. That's why there isn't a Use Up class in September, which is sad because that's my second favorite class of the month. And then in September, because we are we're moving Studio Ink Spots to October, we are going to have, and this was always the plan for October, but I've just flip-flopped October and September. Technique Time for September is going to be the Darling Details bundle. And I'm going to pair this with the idea of Dia de los Muertos. So it's going to be a kind of a spin on Halloween without being in your face Halloween. So we're going to do it my way. So if you think Coco or Encanto, that's kind of where we're going to go with this class. It's going to be fun. You'll be able to pick this class up for $31 or with a $50 purchase on September's host code. And that will ship right to you. So that's coming up. And let's see what else is coming up. Marcia, I'm going to answer your question right now. Studio Ink Spots is coming, but because of the back order issue that we're, with the dies right now, the date has been moved to October 6th. That will be our game night. And then our official classes begin the 12th through the 14th. Now, actually prior to the 6th, that week of, there's, we'll have some card challenges going on, and I'm going to have some garage sales going on that you may want to pick up on, because if you purchase in that garage sale, I'll be sending it with your kit. So please go to my blog, register for the Paper Florist Camp. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to be using the Paper Florist dies, and there's actually 2 sheets of dies. I won't pull them out right now, to make all kinds of dimensional flowers. And I'm going to pair it with the Modern Garden stamp set, which you can find in the September to December mini catalog. And so we're going to use this. I thought it was a good combination. We can really mix up these greetings, and these solid images will play well with the dies for Paper Florist. So that is October 6th to the 14th. Join me. You have to register by the 29th. Okay, so that's all of the business for now. We'll get that out of the way. Bring in our kit. And let's begin with today's class. This is going to be fun. So I did actually use some cards that I had made previous to inspire me for this class, but I expanded on them just a little bit. So our first card that we're going to make, here's my inspiration for the first card. So I love this one. I thought it was really cute. It's sweet. I kept it simple by not coloring in the tigers, but I loved the use of the basic borders die to create the thrusts of my stage front here. So that is kind of what we're going to do, but you can see this card never got finished. So we're going to zhuzh that one up today, and let me show you what we're making, our first card. Here is our first card, and so we're going to feature a little bit of the printed DSP, and you can see I kept with that thrust, but I added some footlights, and we also added some, down spots and, a few little shin busters there as well. So what's a shin buster? Those are the lights that are down low that when you're exiting stage, right or left, you can't really see them because they blind you. So you bust your shins on the actual fixtures. That's the story there. Okay, so here we go. Let's have some fun with this one. Bust open your kits and let's grab our pieces. So I've opened my kit and then I've put it back together so that I could do my prep work. So I'm going to carefully, we'll get rid of this. Don't need that. Here's my smalls bag. We're going to need some things from here for this first card. So in my smalls bag for this card, you're going to pull out one of the banners. Okay, so you'll need one banner from your smalls bag. Thanks, Marcia. I appreciate it. You're going to need the word celebrate, and you'll need the little backing piece for celebrate. So I should have brought the wanted to say dies out with me, but I didn't. These wanted to say dies are really, really cool. They're in the annual catalog. They're a standalone, and they have celebrate, happy birthday, feel better soon, and I'm trying to think. There's something else. Oh, you're too kind. And then there's some present. There's a present and a flower and a bow, and so it's really a cool die set if you're interested in something like that. Okay. Also from this, whoops, I'm getting my happy birthday hung up. There's some black in there, and the black is to cut your black might have been in 2 pieces. That's fine. Your black is to cut the little lights, and so I've done that ahead of time. And then you have a scrap. I'm just going to pull all this out because it's getting tangled. We'll use this happy birthday. This happy birthday, by the way, is from the same wanted to say. So we'll get to that later. I'm just going to put those over there for now. This is for another card. Anyway, so you're die cutting some lights, and the lights are actually the vase. And then you have a tiny scrap of, this is the More Dazzle paper. It is in the annual catalog. And I used this tiny little scrap to die cut the tie backs here. Okay. So if you saw the prep work post, you should have that finished. So here's my prep work. So you need these little lights. These are actually, I think it's intended to be a vase, but doesn't it make it makes a good Fresnel. That's a light fixture, a theatrical light fixture, or an ellipsoidal, whatever, or a parkin. You just decide. Okay, there's that. So that's what I cut that with. And that's what this was for. So I'm just going to kind of get these out of the way for now. And then you're also going to need in your kit. Now I've ran out of some of the gems that you guys have, but that's okay. We'll get the idea. But you're going to use the 5 large iridescent rhinestones. Those are going to be for your footlights. Okay. And then these, you might not see it, but these our little performers here have the smallest of the iridescent rhinestones. Okay. So not iridescent. These are basic rhinestones. So basic rhinestones. So these are all the little goodies you're going to need. Plus, let's see, here's our ribbon card. So we'll need the pink ribbon. So this ribbon, let me tell you, this is the Ribbon Duo Combo Pack. It's part of the Sweet Collection, the Zoo Crew Sweet Collection. And so there's a petal pink, and then there's a lemon lime twist. So we're going to use the petal pink on this first card. So I'll get the lemon lime twist out of the way. This is just a scrap of Sahara sand. It was just to use to roll up the ribbon, so you don't need that. In our DSP, we're going to use this piece right here for this card. So we'll keep that one handy. The rest we'll set aside. And then you're going to need everything from petal pink up in your cardstock stack. So you can see I've done my die cutting. I have just a little bit more to do. So I am going to set the rest of the stack aside because those will be for our other cards. But let's begin now that we've kind of done a detail list of what we're going to be using on this card. That's some of my prep work. Now this one here, you saw in the photo that I only die cut a portion of it because the die isn't long enough for this piece of boho blue paper. So my boho blue paper is 1 inch by 5 1/4. And this die is not long enough to stretch all the way across. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and take the die and line it up with several of those scallops. Okay, just line it up and you'll feel, actually, I'm just going to kind of pull that off so that I can feel. We're just going to kind of put this in there and you'll feel it kind of lock into place. And once it's locked into place, you're going to take a piece of your, maybe it's washi tape or Post-it tape, and just tape that together. And now we're going to run this through the Stampin' Cut Emboss machine, starting on this end, and we're just going to kind of go to here and then back right out. We don't need to die cut the rest of this again, okay? Just do the one end. I lengthen my dies this way all the time. It just gets it so that you can make a custom shape, you know. So there you saw it. My Post-it note tape is real sticky here, but there it is. See, that's how I just continued that across. Hopefully you already knew how to do that, but if you didn't, take a look at your dies. For instance, this die that we're using right here, this is the normal size of the die, but I have lengthened this die many times. And this one's easy to lengthen because when you put the die on top of it, you just kind of fit it into the little stitching holes and it holds itself in place. It's kind of awesome that way. Okay, I'm just going to kind of push my little stack out of the way so I don't lose them. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now that we have all of our pieces die cut, okay, oops, and we need our little animals as well. So I've die cut the tiger, okay, and then I had to fussy cut the hippo, and I hope these are meerkats. I don't know. What is this? I call them meerkats. I could be wrong. I need Jolinda here so she can tell me what animal this is. So we needed those. And then you have a hippo, and most likely you have an entire hippo nose, but mine was up on the edge of the paper, and it seemed like such a shame to waste this whole cute hippo. So that's why I placed her right on the edge there. So she's just kind of working herself off into the wings. You know, she's making her big grand exit. So go ahead, feel free to use those. Even if you have the whole thing, you can move her over. But I didn't, so I'm going to have to put mine on the edge of the page. Okay, so let's begin with the footlights. So here's what we're gonna do for the footlights. You're gonna want a ruler, and shoot, I didn't bring a pencil. Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? I don't have a pencil, but I can make a little dent with my stylus here. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of turn my ruler upside down, and this card is 5.5 inches, right? So at 2 3/4, and kind of get this going, okay? At 2 3/4, I'm just gonna kind of come down here and make a little dent right there, okay? So that way I know where the middle is. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to see, but I really did. If I had a pencil, you'd see it better, but there it is right there. So make a mark there, okay? And then what I want to do is I'm gonna go about an inch. Was it 1 1/4 inches? I think it's 1 1/4 inches. Let me measure. But I actually did measure these because I wanted them really precise. So it's about 1 1/8. So I'm going to take my ruler now and just kind of put that 0 mark. And then I'm going to make a little dent here at 1 1/8. And then we'll do it again at 1 1/8. Okay, and that's right there. Now let's do the same thing, working this direction. Well, I think I'll just keep my ruler upside down. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you that my ruler's upside down, but it's so that I can see this arc. Okay, so there's 1 1/8, and I'm going to do the same thing at 1 1/8. Right there. Okay, that way I know where my footlights are going to go. Okay, so just make a mark there with something. I needed a pencil. Then you're going to need a couple Post-it notes. And I'm going to put my sticky edge of my Post-it note, and I'm going to do, so here's the sticky edge of this. I'm going to create a V here. Okay, and you know what? You're going to want a piece of scratch paper as well. So here's a piece of scratch that I have, because I want to actually stick these on my scratch paper. So I'm going to kind of make my V here, and then we'll make this V kind of like this. I'm going to make sure that it's pretty even. And the reason, and it's kind of on my paper down here as well, I'm sticking it there. That way when I pull this off, my V will be the same, you know, on each footlight. Just FYI, your light fixtures have a certain degree, and that's why you know, and the degree of the, you know, some have a really wide angle and some have a more narrowed. So we're going to keep this at the same degree. Okay, here is my Petal Pink ink and a brush for Petal Pink, and I'm going to load up my brush, get it nice and juicy. And on scratch paper, have some scratch paper nearby. I'm going to kind of knock off that first little bit. And now I'm just going to very lightly create a haze or a glow that will look like it's the light. Okay? And I'm going to intensify down here towards the bottom and then feather it out. Okay? So I want it darker down here at the bottom. So there's my first little bit. Now, remember, try and maintain that angle. So I'm just going to take my paper. See how it's kind of like that? Now I can kind of put this on. Let's grab that next little mark there. We'll do the same thing. Notice I did not re-ink. It's better to add more ink, you know, with a second layer of ink than to have too much ink from the beginning. Whoops. Shoot, Queen. I lost my... They didn't stick. So let me hold on to them. Come on, let go. Okay, so see how this is starting to come to life? Bring that up. We'll do the same thing here. Just kind of slip that in there. Okay, same drill. Okay, I'm giving a little bit more thumb pressure down at the bottom and lightening up as I get up to here. There's that. Try and maintain that angle. Look how cool that's becoming. And I'll do the same thing here. Find my little tick mark. There it is. Okay. We'll add that ink. I think I may need to juice me up just a little bit. Knock off that intense ink. Light pressure, even lighter. Maybe a little bit more now that I've offloaded some of that ink. Hi, Kim. So just curious, you guys, if you don't know, Kim is over in the UK. And so it's 10:21 here in Star, Idaho. What time is it in the UK? I mean, are you at dinner time yet? It's wild and crazy that we have, we all love to do things, but we're all around the world and we're all at different times. Okay, so there is the glow of our footlights there across the front of the stage. Keep this handy because we're going to use it again on the inside of the card, okay? So, and keep your petal pink and your brush handy for the inside. So now that I have that on, I can kind of continue to build my stage here. So let's start with our side curtains here, and we're going to add those with dimensionals. Okay, so we'll just flip these over, and I'm going to have minis and regulars on hand so that I can kind of do a mini right in there to keep it from sagging. There and there. And then with the valance here, I'm just going to do some across the middle. Whoops. Pulled the cover right off. So just across the middle, and then we'll tackle the ends in just a minute here. Okay, so let's peel all of our backings. See if we can do these all at the same time. Okay, cool. Didn't have to unload, although I lost one here. These little ones, I find them all over the place. Okay, so now we'll add our curtains. And so position here, I'm just kind of looking at the bottom of my stage. And so I'm just adding that kind of right where that ends. I'm kind of working across right there. And then this, whoops, I'm kind of crooked. Okay. So I'm just looking for an even edge right there on that side. And we'll do the same thing with this one. Okay, so I'm going to take just a couple seconds here to put a plug in. If you don't know what the Crafty Carrot Collective is, they're a great group of Stampin' Up! Demonstrators that have a group that goes every month. And last month they did the Zany Zoo collection here. And Krista Fratton used this. Instead of doing it in like a color, she did it in white and made it look like an open book. Brilliant, 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 brilliant use of that. And then she kind of put a black edge on it to make it look like the spine. So cute. I was just noticing my curtain here was really crooked. We don't want a crooked curtain, right? And then this one's going to go across the top. So, man, I really feel like I'm very lopsided. I am very, very lopsided. And it's this one. Oh, well, I'm just going to let it ride. So what I'm going to do is just kind of tuck a mini right under there with some of it sticking out so that it can catch. I think my curve might be a little bit off, but that's okay. It's hand stamped. Not going to worry about it. Now this one's going to stretch across the front. Oh, shoot. Got to move this one in. Okay, you might have to do a little bit of playing around. Okay, here we go. Ta-da. Now, I am going to drop this one down. Sorry, folks. It's there's something when it's a little off, but when it's a lot off, you got to fix it. So we're just going to do a quick fix. Nice thing is those dimensionals haven't set up too much just yet. There we go. And here we go. Okay, so now the stage is set. Great. And I have a little bit of residual from my Post-it tape, so I'm just going to remove that with my adhesive remover. And so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of stamping, just a tiny bit, with the Memento black ink pad. And we'll also use the little confetti stamp. I like this. Whoops, dropped it on the floor. This confetti image right here. It's kind of like the party. And we're just going to create a nice backdrop here. And I'm going to rotate the stamp so it's never in the same direction, right? Just kind of spinning it around. And I'm just filling in this upper space. And I'm going to do another row in here. So maybe just kind of, well, let's see, let's turn this entirely. We'll kind of fill that in there. And another one right in there. And kind of right like that. So we're just having some fun with our confetti. And now I want to color this confetti in. And so I'm going to use a lemon lolly. And you can use light or dark. I think I'm going to use dark. And I'm going to use petal pink. And I'll use dark petal pink. And so what I want to do is I'm going to open my card because I don't want, it's going to bleed through to the back. We're going to fix that, but I don't want it to bleed through to this layer. So just open your card for now. And let me put this on a piece of scratch paper here. Color the stars with lemon lolly. Color all of them. And then I'm going to kind of go through and even pick up a few pieces of the confetti. So the stars are definitely lemon lolly. And then I'm just going to pick up a piece or two of the confetti here and there. And then the rest I'll color petal pink. Okay, so there's that. Now on to petal pink. We'll just color all these little pieces of confetti. Oops, I'm coloring out of the lines. That's okay. Okay. There's that. A few more to do here. And I think this adds just a little bit, it's not in your face, but it adds just a little bit of interest in the background here. For our little performers, our little trio of dancers. So there's that. Now, let's kind of bring these in. We're going to bring this in here. We have one here, and one is going to go here. Now, you are wondering why I didn't put them dead center. You can do that if you want. But being that my degree is in theater arts, with an emphasis in modern dance, contemporary. I know that, from The Art of Making Dances, which is an actual book, it's one of my texts, that center is not necessarily the strongest point on the stage. Your entrances from like upright, notice I'm saying right, yes, this is right stage, this is left. It is from the performer's perspective, but entering up and coming down, that's like one of the strongest directions that you can, include in choreography. And so that's why we're going that direction there. I'm just looking for my pokey tool. So I have my dental pick here, and I'm just going to remove these little pieces inside the word celebrate. Okay, because that's going to go there as well. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of information about me that you might not know. I mentioned my degree is in theater arts. And my mentors, Fred Matthews and Gary Masters, both were principal dancers for the Le Monde Dance Company. And so my background and my training is in Limon. I worked for the Limon Company. And they're a dance company out of New York City. That is where they are based. They started in with Jose Limon and Doris Humphrey. And, obviously both have passed away. In fact, she passed away in 58 and he passed away in, I believe, 76 or 77. I can't remember. But so the company is still an international repertoire company, and they are the longest surviving company of the death of their founders. So an amazing company with an amazing body of choreographic works. So, and I worked for them back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So there's my background. Okay, so I'm just using that fine tip applicator to apply the word celebrate here. And I could have backed this with an adhesive sheet, but I always forget about those. And I have a big old pack of them. Okay, so here's the word celebrate. And you know what? Less is more on the glue. You don't need too much. But there's the word celebrate. Whoops, pulled it right off because my fingers are sticky. Kind of moosh that on there. While it's on its backside, I'm going to add some dimensionals. And I'm going to add them towards the bottom of the word celebrate, because the top of the word celebrate is going to be kind of hitting the valance here of our main drape. Okay, and so I need to kind of cut one right in half. So I'll cut a little mini here so it'll fit on the bottom of that C. Let's see if this one will fit. Perfect. Okay, so that's all you're going to need on that. Just put these aside for now. And I'm not going to tie those. I'm not going to put that on because I want to tie my ribbon on first. And so we're going to tie our ribbon. Just kind of dump the little performers there. I'll flip this over. So take your ribbon, and I like to kind of move it into place because it's going to be over here. Just even out your ends. And I'm going to kind of train it by kind of bringing it back like that just a little bit. That way it kind of helps to hold that in place. Jolinda, there's a ton of recordings of their repertoire. A very famous one with Nureyev, he and Fred Matthews and a couple other women, I can't remember the two women, but it was back in the 70s, did the Moors Pavane, is a very famous Limon repertoire. Psalms, There Is a Time, Missa Brevis, those are some of the older ones, the unsung. Great pieces. And I actually learned quite a few of them back in the day. But yeah, I don't have any, but yes, there are definitely recordings available. Okay, so here's one of those tiny little tie backs. It kind of looks like a Frankfurter to me when it's cut out like this. But I'm going to add my little tie back here. That just makes this all glitzy and fun and pretty. Let me find my other one here. My fingers are just sticky enough that I can pick them up just by touching them. I have magic powers. Not really, but you know what I mean. Okay, here goes this next one. Of course, I have it upside down. There we go. So we'll just kind of let those set up. And I originally, I told you I was playing off of this one here. I had flowers up on this and I'm like, you know what? It doesn't need it. And so I pulled those flowers off and I liked it much better without the flowers. I'm like, there, now it's done. Okay, so we're setting the stage here. Let's bring in the word celebrate. And then we'll put our dancers. So we have a places call right now. And then we'll give them their cue. How's that? Okay, and so this is going to just kind of take center stage right here, and we'll just let this kind of hang off of. I guess this is in honor of super titles for Opera San Jose. So that's something else you may not know about me. I spent many years with Opera San Jose in production management, stage management. Okay, and even choreography. Okay, now footlights. These are the five largest of your iridescent rhinestones from your kit. The footlights are going to go right down here at the bottom, just like so. So we'll start with that middle one and just put that right on there. Give it a good mash, right? Mush it on there, good and tight. And then same with this one. This one. My spacing's a little different. I think my curtains were higher in my original. It's the beauty of handmade. It's never going to be exactly the same. Okay. And then give those a good press so that you know that they're going to stay. And before we add our ballerinas, I want to do just a little bit of work to the tiger and the hippo. And you'll notice that they are both wearing a Lost Lagoon flower. I want to actually change those to be blue. So I'm going to take my boho blue Stampin' Blend and just change these up. And you have to add a few layers because that lagoon is going to, when this boho dries, that lagoon is going to kind of pop, it's going to come back. It's going to, change this boho blue a little bit. So Marcia says, fun, impressive background in stage management. Yep, fun times, but, back in the early 2000s when, that was the arts, right before that housing crash, the arts go first, right? And so we lost our Limon, San Jose, lost their funding from Packard and from Hewlett and from the city of San Jose. So there went my job. Which was okay. Okay, so I've just changed those flowers to blue, but I wanted to do that on scratch paper because I didn't want it to come through on my card. So, because see here how it definitely comes through. So just be careful, be aware of that. So let's put some dimensionals on these. So I'll just do 1 and 2. She's for the inside. And then we'll do 1, and I'm going to do a mini down here on her feet, on her toe shoes. And then Jolinda, I see you've popped on. What animal is this? I said it was a meerkat, but I don't know. I guess, I took a zoology class, but I don't remember, that's not what we studied in zoology. So here's my little critters. Okay, so now I'm going to place them, and we'll put her and I'm going to set her kind of right in here in that spot. So just like in card making, you have a canvas, right? And we know about the rule of thirds. Okay, if you don't know, I can chat with you about that later. But that's why I'm kind of putting my trio here over here on this third of the card. And it's the same thing in dance. It's just dance, the canvas is the entire stage, and it's three-dimensional, right? So, anyhow, she's going to come over in here. And this one can go right in here. A little, there we go. Cute, 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 cute. Now we'll finish this with a little bit. We'll give their tutus some glow, right? Some glimmer with Wink of Stella. Even the little shoes. In fact, I used the petal pink to color these shoes. Ah, yeah, that's cool, Kat, to have your niece be a little dancer there. That would be fun for her. So now I'm going to take these little baby rhinestones and we'll add these to the performers. Right there, like so. And again, I like to give these, once I know definitely where I'm putting them, I like to give it a good press in with my fingers or the tip of something just to make them stay. And there you have the front of the card. Now let's move to the inside. So you'll notice here we have, from coloring our background images there, we need to cover that up. So we're going to use this piece and just measure how tall your piece needs to be. So if I go from the score line there, it looks like mine needs to be about 2 3/8. Yours could be 2.5. It could be 3 inches. 3 inches is going to be kind of big, but I'm going to do 2 3/8. So I'm going to trim this piece. Right now it's 4 by 6. For those of you making your own kit, I'm going to trim this down to 2 3/8 wide. Okay, save that. You never know when we might use it. And then I'm going to turn this, and now I'm going to do this at 5 3/8. Okay, so I'm really going all the way, almost all the way across that. Okay, so we'll take that, and I'm going to put a little notch in it so that we can make it look like a pocket, right? So just eyeball center, or you can measure center, whichever you like to do. But just take a notch. Hopefully in that notch, we're not going to have confetti showing, but if we do, oh well, no biggie. At least we're covering most of it. So let's turn this into a pocket. Look at how cute these images are. This DSP is so fun, but divvying it up for class was tricky. I'm like, you know, I want them to see that the animals have die cuts that fit. I want them to see they can fussy cut them and all that good stuff. But man, was it tricky figuring out what to do. Okay, perfect. Now all of my confetti coloring, all of what I did there is not showing through at all. Lovely, we've covered our mechanics, right? So now let's estimate here. We have our hippo, she's exiting stage left. She's doing a big leap out. And then we have a greeting here. Okay, and so I'm going to bring that one right there. So let's stamp that greeting. We're going to stamp this greeting with Memento. Memento ink. Let me just do a slight 2-second tidy here so I can find everything I'm looking for. Okay, that's that. And we want the greeting. We're going to use several of the greetings a couple times. Something great to celebrate you. So we'll ink that up in Memento and stamp our little greeting, our little banner here. Lovely, lovely, lovely. We'll set that aside. We're done with Memento for this card. So I'm going to add this first. Then it kind of helps me navigate where the hippo is going to go exactly. Okay. Because I need to know where the hippo is going to go so I can add her light. Where she's going to go. And I'm just kind of monkeying with my ribbon here. So this one's going to kind of go offset just like that. Now she's going to come in right here. And I'm going to use one of the black vases that we cut out. So one of the black vases is going to go right there. So I need to put her light, so we need, this is what I'm looking for. We need petal pink, we need the brush, and we need our Post-it note back. And so if that's where my light is going to be, I'm just going to kind of move her out of the way and put my Post-it notes right in there. Let's see. Kind of get underneath it like we did before. Okay, now I can just add a little bit. And she'll be lit. Okay. There, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Oh, I lost my angles, but that's okay. I can figure them out again. Okay, so I'm going to put her on. Turn this back around. Here she is. Cute. So cute. And then I'm going to do just a tiny little mini dimensional. They just barely fit on here. Like so. And then we'll hang our light from the truss here. You're getting all the backstage talk here. So there's that. Now let's do this side. So for this side, what we want to do is we're going to stamp another greeting, and we're going to stamp happy birthday to you. Okay. So we're going to have something like so. So we'll do happy birthday to you. And we'll do that just nice and center. Oops, not in petal pink. What am I doing? Okay, well, we're going to have a shadow. Oh, boy. Hello. I do, and not being photopolymer. Okay, well, look at that. We have kind of a cool shadow action going on. Didn't plan on that, but that's okay. Keep your memento out. We're going to stamp that confetti again so that we can tie the inside to the outside of the card. And so I'm just going to do a couple little, couple little dangles. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, we're going to have to figure out how to fix that one later on. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. And see, sometimes it will erase. That's worse than a thumbprint. Well, if I continue to work this, I think I can get it off. But I might have a hole in my card by the time I'm done. Let it go. It is what it is. I'll fix it later. Okay, so let's add in, we're going to light our greeting here. Maybe what I'll have to do, just FYI, how will I fix this when I, later on, is I might just cut another piece, cut the angle, and glue it right on top. So, Julie, you missed it. I just dropped a stupid stamp right on my card. What a bummer. Okay, so we're going to put a light right there. Okay. So I've lost my little, but that's okay. I just wanted the front ones to really be the same. So, but I need to slip something in there. Okay, but I went too far. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to do some side light here to light our greeting. And we'll do the same thing from the other side. Okay. And it doesn't have to be exact. In fact, I think I'd like it better if it's not totally exact. Get just a little bit more petal pink ink here. There we have it. Okay. Chime in if you ever have things like that happening. Am I alone, or does that happen to you too? I'm done with petal pink ink, but I am not done with my blends. I'm going to go back to those two blends that we just used, the Lemon Lolly Dark and the Petal Pink Dark, and we'll do the same thing here. Man, no one has episodes like that. Shoot, whoops. I just pulled my whole blend apart. Come on. Okay, there we go. I'm going to color the stars in and maybe 1 or 2 pieces of the confetti. And then we'll do the same thing. Finish these off. And again, tie it back to the front. There's that. That never happens to you. Yeah, right. Just yesterday, you did your Cheerful Daisy class and dropped green on the finished. Oh, can you put a leaf on it or something, Kat? We find ways, right, to disguise some of our goofs. Terry says, are you, Julie, and Kayleen going to? No, we're not going to Las Vegas. We're hanging out at home. Nope. Okay, so let's do our last two little lights here. Okay, so we've got this light, which is actually a vase, but I think it makes a good light. Give that a squish. Marcia says, oh yes, I have episodes like that often. I just stamp over it. That one's kind of hard to stamp over, you know? Okay, so we'll project our little light here. Whoops, got to take off the back. So we've got a little shin buster there and one more. Julie says, Terry says, it always happens to you. Well, how do you fix it, Terry? You know, always a war to fix those little mistakes. Sometimes it's like, well, you know, if I do the greeting wrong, then I can just kind of bring in a die cut and put it right over. But that's obvious. I mean, that one's like, crap. Yeah. Just add a new layer. That, or I could try to just add more confetti, but I'd never line that up. It's still going to look bad. Okay, here's our last little piece here. Last little light right there. Cute. And I love how this is kind of working in, you know, we've kind of got our triad working here. Just like that. Doesn't it look good? Cute, cute, cute card. Now, let me show you one thing I did. So here was my inspiration card, right? So this one here, you'll notice that when we colored, we had some stuff come through, right? From coloring that. So you can, if you want to, cover that up by adding your petal pink. And so you can finish it the way I finished my original here. Okay? Or you can keep it without. It's up to you. I gave you the option. I kind of like it without, but I kind of like it with too. What it does is by adding this piece, it does give you that full card size. But it kind of gives you the feeling that the stage is higher than your audience. So anyhow, there you have it. You choose whether you want to put the petal pink on or not. Okay, so there's one and done. Fun times. Cute, cute card, you guys. Super cute. All right, let's do a little tidy up here so I can figure out where all my stuff is. And let's go to our stack and see which card we're doing next. So our next card, okay, I know what card it is, and I'll show you the original, and then I'll show you how we've changed it up a little bit. Okay, so here we're going to need from basic black up, and so you have some white. You also had a piece of green and yellow and blue, and that was to cut a whole stack of stuff. So for this card, we've got, let me pull out. So I'm going to move this stack away. That will be for our last card. Okay. So for this card, you need that. And you're going to need some things in here. Let's see. You're going to need your pieces that you already die cut. So you die cut that and the stool, the little table and the vase. And you die cut a bunch of flowers and a couple balloons. Here it all is. Okay, so mine's done. So like I said, you had a piece of blue, you had a piece of lemon lolly, you had a piece of black, you had a piece of green. It's all in there. And you had a piece of white. And on your white, you die cut some white flowers. And then we're going to stamp. And let's see, I don't have that scrap with me, but I have another scrap here. So with what's left of that piece of white, remember I said put those flowers way up at the top. We're going to use the rest of that piece to stamp the knitting llama. This is like perfect for Catherine Salisbury. She loves to knit. Loves to knit. Okay, so I'm just going to ink up my llama here. And we'll stamp that. right on that scrap, straight down, straight up, get a good impression. And this is in Memento ink because I'm planning to use Stampin' Blends. If you want to watercolor yours, all you have to do is switch out to Jet Black StazOn, and then that way you can watercolor. But cute little image there. And you're going to die cut that. So I have mine die cut, so I'll kind of bring that out here. I have a chunk of glue right here. Hold on, things are getting stuck to it. So let's pretend we, did the die cutting. Well, I did do it. Don't have to pretend, but that way you're not sitting there watching me do that. But let's give this some color. And so my color for this little llama here, we're going to use Lemon Lolly. We're going to use some boho blue. And we're going to use just a teeny tiny bit of lemon lime twist. And we'll use that one last. So we're going to color her in. And let's see here. It's not too tricky of a color in. Hey, Jacqueline is joining us. Okay, so we are going to color the knitting is going to be Lemon Lolly. So the ball of yarn here, I'm going to give it a light. So here's my light Lemon Lolly. And then it looks like she's knitting a scarf. Okay. And I'm missing a color here. We're going to use some petal pink as well. So there's Lemon Lolly. Now I'm going to switch to Lemon Lolly Dark. And I'm just going to kind of, where Stampin' Up! Has drawn these little squiggle lines, I'm just giving them, so I'm not coloring the whole thing with the dark, but I'm just adding some swooshes here and there with the dark. There's that. Now I said I missed one color here. We need some petal pink. I did color her little hoofs and her feet. Just adds just a little bit of punch of color. And then for the lemon lime twist, she's right out of the 70s and she's getting some big time green eyeshadow. Just a hint. I just wanted to bring that touch of green because we have some green on the inside. And let's see, let's give her some ears here. Nice. That's all we're going to do for, is this a sheep? It's a llama. Look at that long neck. Okay, now we're just going to focus. The rest of the color will be the chair. And so I'm going to start with the nib end of the boho blue. I'm just doing a little color in here. And I fell out of the lines there. Shame. And I don't have a color lifter with me right now. It's always good to have a color lifter on hand, because I use it not only to lift color, but I'll use it every now and again to blend color. Okay, so there's that. And so how many of you enjoy using blends? How many of you would rather use markers or watercolor pencils or watercolor? What's your preferred method of coloring things in? And right now I'm just giving this a little layer, and then I'm going to zhuzh it up with the dark, and I'm going to blend, and we'll add some character here in just a minute. So that's the question of the moment. Your preferred method of coloring in. So there's my first layer of some of the blue here. And now I'm just going to kind of come around her chair back. Let's see, Marcia says blends hands down. I think I'm with you, Marcia. Like I say, just adding a little bit of that dark here and there. And the fun thing is when it dries, it looks really cool. I'm going to go back and add just a little bit more. Jacqueline, all of the above. I just want to be crafting. There you go. Good answer. So I'm just adding a little bit more of the light just to kind of really blend that out just a little bit more. And there you have my cute little llama. So she's ready. Now we have quite a bit of action that we need to do on the front of our card here. Excuse me. So our card front, let's talk about our card base pieces. So this is our main card base, and this card base is actually going to go upside down, like so. And then the white one will be a top fold. So we have a bottom fold and a top fold. Now this white one, the first thing we need to do to this is we're going to trim 1/4 inch off of one end. So trim 1/4 inch off of one end. Okay, so that's going to be the first thing we do. So that's our front. Okay, and then we need to go to our DSP, and we're going to grab a piece of DSP. The piece that we want is this one here. And so for those of you who don't have a kit, this piece is 4x6. That's what I included in the little kit packet. We're going to trim this one down. It's going to stay 4 inches wide, but we're going to trim it down just a little bit to 5 3/8 of an inch. So here's 5 1/4, and then between 5 1/2 and 5 1/4, that next long tick mark is 5 3/8. So just taking that much off. Okay. So now this piece here is going to glue to the front of our card. You're going to take it all the way up to the top, and then you'll see you'll have a bottom, side, and side margins that will be the same. So let me back up on these. Jolinda says she loves blends, but too expensive to collect and can't refill them. Yeah, they are. But yeah, you pick a few colors you really, really love, and then, yeah, I don't have them all. I just have certain ones. Jacqueline says, I love even to use the watercolor pencils over stamped refills or infills or watercolored images. It all depends on the mood of the day. So true, so true. Okay, so I'm going to, look, there's that cute llama right there. Fun. Okay. Okay, so let's add this piece of DSP. Again, it's 5 3/8 by 4. This is a bottom fold, you know, half sheet of black, hot dog style, and I'm putting it all the way up to the top, just like that. Okay, and then the glue came smudging out. Now our white here is going to glue to the inside, like so, okay, which will give us a white panel to write on, but then it's going to flap over the front like you know, like so, okay? So we're going to have just a fun little action. I wish I had more white down here on the bottom. I wonder if this is totally set up. Yeah, it's set up too much. I would rather have had some more white down here that peeks through the bottom, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so there's that. I'll think about that for tomorrow night and try and remember that. Now what we're going to do with the front of this, let me show you our card and our inspiration. Whoops, there's that card for next project. Here is here's the inspiration. So I originally did it and that it's just a card front. I didn't do a whole lot with it. And it was in the Lemon Lime Twist color palette. I've switched it to the blue color palette and made it a little bit more fancy. So we're going to it opens from the top, and then it opens again to see the inside. So we have a little bit more of a magic card. So it has a little bit more layer and a little bit more action going on. Okay, so what I want to do now is, and I haven't pre-done this, you can see, you're going to take your large flower, okay? With your large flower, you are going to we're going to cut out on the white. So you're going to open this up, and we're going to die cut this flower 5 times. So it's going to take me a second or two. And how do I have glue on the inside of my card? Oh, yeah. Got to clean it up though, or it starts to get on other things, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we'll get that out of there. Okay, so now make sure you're on the shorter half, and we're going to cut 5 flowers. And so I'm going to bring this in here so you can kind of see where those 5 flowers are. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can put little marks on yours, or you can just go for it. I'm going to just go for it. So here's my first one. Looks pretty good. Now keep these flowers because we're going to use them for texture on the front of our card. So pop that out. Okay, so it kind of looks like some faux embossing. So you can see we're keeping those flowers. We're going to add them to the front of our card. I thought this was really kind of clever. Okay, so we'll just make a pile of those. And I need another one. And again, rotate that flower around so it's not in the same orientation. Just like when we're stamping, we'll do the same thing with the die cut here. Here's my second. We'll retrieve this little flower. Save each of those. Okay, 2 down, 3 to go. So it's like you have 3 up on the top and 2 down below. There's my third. Ah, nice. This one jumped out on its own. So there you can see my first 3. Now I'm going to do one down here over on the side. Okay. And then one on the bottom. Okay, I got a new topic of discussion. We talked coloring methods. So just curious, with the latest little mini catalog that has come out, what bundle or stamp set, what really sticks out? What are you going, man, I cannot wait to order that. I really want to have that in my collection. What might that be? Just really curious what everybody's favorites are. So, Jacqueline said the sound is going in and out for her, but it's not for Kat. That always makes me nervous when it goes in and out, because last week when it went out, we were cut off. The Christmas manger, that is a beautiful one. I really like that one, and I really like the greetings that are all of the Christmas carols. Okay, my hobby blade fell out. Fix that. Okay, so I now have my 5 flowers. But, you know, when you put your stuff through a bunch of times, your plate, because my plate's not perfectly clean, it leaves little residue on your card. So I had to get rid of that. That had to go. That was just no, not going to happen. Okay, so now with your card here, we're going to take this and let's add this to the inside of our card. Now remember, this is going to go inside of the black. And for the most part, it's going to go all the way down to the bottom. But you want to make sure that you have room for this to close without buckling. And I need to move it over just a skosh. And I still need to move it over. Okay, so here we're going to do this a little different. We're going to do it from the front side. So the back isn't touching just yet. I want to get it to where I have an even edges showing, and they were not. So I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to bring my black up on it. Okay. Better. Just like so. So now that black peeks through. I think it's kind of fun. So we're getting some peek through action. We're kind of getting our own little background. So it's really kind of a study on a cool background. So now we're going to add the flowers. You'll see our original here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll do one there, kind of eking into there. So we'll just glue these on. And I'm not going to do a ton of glue on these. Got to get the glue to come out first. So one right up in there, and we'll trim that off. You like this idea? I like it too, Jolinda. I think it's fun. It's different. It's fun to not always do it exactly the same, right? There's one there. And let's do one more flower over here. So just have fun twisting them and turning them and making little conversations. And then this one, let's see here. Let me bring my llama in. Llama's coming in right there. And I kind of want it to play off the bottom of her chair. So it's going to go there. Like the way I did that? Marsha likes all the variety of paper, embellishments, ribbon included in the All About. Oh, yeah. That is really pretty. Those, it's like they're lifelike pictures. You know, they're realistic, I guess. Better word. Okay, so I'm going to put glue on just the half of this so that I can trim half of it off. Okay, so there are my 5 flowers that I cut out. I used for like a faux embossed layer. Kind of give these a smudge to get them to stick. And now I'm going to trim. That barely hangs off the edge, but we'll trim that one off. And then we'll trim this end off as well. Ta-da! Okay, there's that. Beautiful. Now let's put our llama on. Our mama llama. Just like that. We'll add her. And so now I'm just kind of centering her in between these 2 flowers. Just like that. And what have I pre-ordered from the, well, I really like the Modern Garden Suite collection, the DSP, the pearls, all of those colors just really appeal to me. And I do have the paper already, and let me tell you, it's gorgeous. The paper is absolutely gorgeous. The colors in it, I mean, the pictures in the catalog do not do it justice at all. Okay, so now I want the greeting that says, "You're too wonderful." I want that one nearby, and I'm going to ink it up in Memento Black. If you are watercoloring, and so say you're using StazOn, just use your StazOn ink pad. That will work as well. And so I'm going to slip this. My flower here is a little bit in my way, so I'm going to come down just a skosh from what my original was. But "You're too wonderful" right in there. Now, once I have that in place, I can add my little side table and the blue vase, okay? So I'll add those both with glue. And I'm going to close this pad before I have another disaster that I have to fix. Kat says her grown daughter has called me Mama Llama for years. You know, that's cute. Someone was saying, Mama, you know, that expression, the Mama Bear is going to come in and, you know, let you know that you're not going to treat my kids or be like that. And this other lady, she says, "I'm not a Mama Bear." She goes, "I'm a Mama Llama because I'm willing to spit." I thought it was funny because they spit. And when I'm mad, oh, I thought it was funny. Okay, Mama Llama. Cat's Mama Llama. Okay, so I'm going to put this little vase right on this side table here. And they have a die that has these teeny tiny flowers that could go in here. But I thought that was a little too predictable. And so I'm using one of these small yellow flowers to put in there. I just thought it was a little bit more, gave us a little bit more bang for our buck, a little more punch. So I'm going to use on all of these yellow flowers, I'm going to put a mini dimensional right in the middle. Okay. And yes, that's got stuff showing through. I see that. Let me kind of bring this down just a little bit. So it's kind of like it's drooping over in the vase. Okay. And then we're going to put gems on each of these. So not to worry about that. So here come more of our little yellow flowers. And we're going to stick these right in the center. Now on my original, because the card didn't open, It was just glued. My original here, I could kind of set these offset and make them a little bit more interesting. But because I want these yellow flowers to be on the inside of the card, you have to kind of, you can still do them a little offset and whatnot, but they need to be inside the flower so that you can open the card, okay? So they're gonna go just inside. And I gotta do some finger rubbing action here because I got a little too much glue on my fingers. You know, you have to just kind of do that. So there's a mini there. There. It's almost easier to do it there than, I mean, look how much faster that is than trying to put it on the back of the yellow. So let's see if I can find the rest of my little yellow flowers. And just make sure that they're you know, not sitting the same way. Make them interesting. There's that one more right there. Okay. Then in your packet there, you have some gems. You have iridescent rhinestones. I don't have any more iridescent rhinestones in my kit. Let's see, what am I using? I am using up basic rhinestones, but you get the idea. You have a whole bunch. I think you have 5. Don't use them all on the front because we've got another card, but we're going to put an iridescent rhinestone in each of these daisies. And you can use small or medium, either one, because you've already used all of your larges. So I'm going to put a small in this one just to make that flower. And then maybe I'll do a couple mediums. So maybe we'll do a medium here and we'll do a medium up in here. I love the basic rhinestones are great. They're, you know, we've had so many other things since then, so they've kind of taken a back seat, right? But man, they're great. It's like having a good pair of, you know, the perfect pair of jeans or a great little black dress, the basic rhinestones. Now, next to that, the iridescent rhinestones, I really enjoy them. I think that they are great. I love how the iridescence of them and how they pick up on things. Okay, so be sure to add a gem, a basic rhinestone or something to the centers of all those flowers. And then you can kind of go through and give them a push so you know they're going to stick. Oops, I forgot one. Need one more. One more of these doodads right there. Okay. Push that on. And then we are going to paint the llama. Okay, we're going to paint her fur, her wool, or whatever this is called. Her hide. I guess llamas have fur. I don't know. Okay. That kind of makes her stand out just a little bit more. It finishes her off. Maybe we'll get a little sparkle. She's got frosted eyeshadow now. And we'll give some splatters to the front because we can. And there is the front of our card. Okay, now for second card. Notice we left kind of an area right in here. And so that's exactly where we're going to add our greeting. And our greeting is going to say something great to celebrate you. We're going to use that one again. Only this time, instead of on that banner, we're going to put it on the center of our circle. And again, I'm stamping in black. This is very much a black stamping kind of day. So just stamp that somewhere near the middle. Something great to celebrate you. Cute. And now we'll add that to our card with dimensionals. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Kind of right in here. And the nice thing about that is it doesn't show. Kind of cool, right? And we'll just kind of make sure it's straight. It was a little crooked. And now I'm going to add these blue flowers and a couple of the white. And so just have some fun, you know, making a fun little collage. So I have a large and a large, and then we'll do another large, kind of buddy this one up, but maybe this one's a little higher. And then we'll put a small blue and we'll put a small white. Okay, so we'll just have some fun like that for now. So let's glue these. Just give them a quick little smudge of glue. I love these little applicators so I've put my green cap glue is in here. So I mean, I still have it, but I like to pull this one up when I'm using, you know, putting something small on like this. Julie gave it to me, Julie Beltramo. Okay, so let's put this blue one on over here, and then we'll layer this one kind of on top of it. And one more white right down in there. Like so. Just a little bit of a, you know, keeping it a little bit asymmetrical. I think it's kind of fun that way. And I didn't put gems on because there's already a whole bunch of gems, but I did add some Wink of Stella to these flowers here, just to bring them alive, zhuzh them up a little bit. Okay, sometimes it needs a second coat if you want it good and sparkly. And there you have that layer of our card. Now let's move to the inside. And I can see I still have an issue going on up here. It's bugging me. There we go. Go away. Just extra glue we don't need. Okay, so now let's do the inside here. And so I did, if you saw on the homework, you were to take this piece and cut a little banner out right on that corner. So there's that. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to do a little coloring on this with my blends. I'm not going to do a ton. I'm going to do Lemon Lolly, and I'm going to do Lemon Lime Twist, just to kind of bring that color to the inside. But I'm not going to color every one. I'm just going to color the ones that have leaves, just to kind of be random. So it doesn't have to be, you know, like everything gets colored. So just, we'll do Lemon Lolly petals with the flowers that have leaves. Just to keep it a little more random. Of course, this, I happen to have a section that has a lot of leaves showing. So there are those petals, and now let's do just a quick swoosh of Lemon Lime Twist. Leaf there, there, and there. Oops, two more. Okay, just a little bit of color. Just a little bit, okay? Kind of keeps it fun. Keeps it zany. Okay, and we're going to stamp the Happy Birthday to You image on our blue banner, but we're going to stamp it towards the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down just a skosh, leaving room to do a little bow there on top. And this banner here, so the banners are going to go something like dun, dun, and dun, like that. And our banner, this one here, we have our two little balloons. They're kind of random here, but that's okay. We have them in the set, and so I wanted to use them. So on our green flag, we're going to have a yellow and a blue. Okay, we'll just kind of group them together. So a little bit of a birthday, you know, nod to the birthday girl here. She's getting birthday balloons. So I'm just going to kind of hold these together. You've seen me do this a ton and get a twofer action out of that. So I've got one-dimensional holding two things, not only together, but on the banner, like so. Cute, cute, cute. And I still, this is making me crazy. Okay, so let's add these to our inside with dimensionals. Actually, I didn't do it with dimensionals because it was starting to get thick. I did it with just glue on this top edge. And then we'll kind of kick the bottom out. We'll give it just a little bit of a gentle curl like that. See how it's got, I just bent it ever so slightly. I didn't give it a harsh bend, but just if we give it just a little bit, it will have kind of some natural dimension without having all that excess bulk. Okay, so let's kind of eyeball this. And then this one, we'll slip this one under. Cute little party banner in there. And then in your smalls bag, you have a small piece of linen thread. And so I'm going to take this apart. Okay, so I'm going to thin it out just to 1 layer thick. If I can find, there it is. So thin that out, 1 layer thick, and then let's give this a color. Let's just do a quick little color on it. So just brush your boho blue Stampin' Blend over that linen thread. And get a good coverage, kind of roll it around. It's stuck to me. Okay, so we'll get that out of here. And now we'll just tie this in a little bow, and then we'll put it on top of the blue banner, which is why I left a little bit of a space in there. If I can find, I can't tie my bow. Okay, 2 bunny ears. She's failing at the 2 bunny ear method. There it is. It's a little lopsided here, but we'll fix that. So you have just a lightweight little bow inside. Okay, trim those ends, make them a little bit more even. And then with just a dot of glue, you can use a glue dot on the knot, or I'm just going to take and make just a teeny little dot of glue right there with this tiny little applicator. It's fabulous. And then we'll just kind of nudge that knot right in that little dot of glue. And that is how we'll finish that one out. So there you can see. Oops, I noticed I did some splattering. Ha-ha, we have just a little bit more, and that splatter gives it kind of a confetti look. So I splattered in Lemon Lime Twist, just a little bit, and a little bit in boho. That's it. There you have it, folks. A very cute, little bit of an interactive card where we've got the scenes that open up. There was number 2, not bad. Hey, timing-wise, folks, we're not nearly as long as we have been in the past. So that's number 2. Let me know if you have any questions. I will gladly help. Just reach out. Okay, so this next one is a fancy fold, and we haven't done this card, this style card, in a while. Last time we did it was for Fond of Autumn last year. But this is my own pattern. I found a few things and merged some things and then merged some of my own. So let me show you the card. This is I'm calling it a double stair step card, but it is like extra large. And what I mean by extra large is most of the patterns on there were just this. And they weren't this dimension. They were like for a 5 by a 10-inch piece of paper. So I changed mine to a 5.5 by 11. But I've added this back flap. And to me, it's that back flap that finishes this type of card. Because just this seems weird to me. It's just kind of hanging there. You're like, well, what do you do with it? So I've added this back flap to make it a little bit more complete. So here it is from the top. Kathleen says, I like that card, but it looks hard. It looks hard, but once you know how to do it, it's actually quite easy. So here's the finished card. I posted on the Backstage Pass there a pattern for this. So you can, I mentioned maybe have the pattern printed so you have a reference of it. Let me explain how the pattern works and then we'll do it. So the black lines are slices. They're cuts within the cardstock. The reds are all score lines, right? Now, what this means when you see 1.5, that means that this is 1.5, this red score line is 1.5 inches away from here, okay? This one's 2.25 inches away from this edge. These two score lines are 2 3/4 inches away from there, all right? Then what I did when I do the other side is I turn it around and I just score again and everything's from that other side. So that's how I'm doing things. Then these two slices are 1.5 from each end and 1 inch in. So we're going to go over all of it, but I just kind of wanted to explain this to you so that you understood how this worked. Okay, so have that nearby. I will even have mine. Mine's right here so I can see it. But so bring in your paper trimmer, and I'm also going to use for this my stylus, okay? And you'll see where I'm going to use my stylus in a second. And I'm going to use my thin end of my stylus, okay? So paper-wise, let's grab our packet. So now we're using all of our cardstock bits and pieces that we've had for this last card. We're going to use this largest piece. This piece here is 11 inches by 5.5. And then I've scored it in half at 5.5. So along the long edge, okay? So this card takes a full sheet of paper, and then you can get the back piece of it out of a portion of a piece of paper, a second piece of paper. So you need 2 pieces of cardstock for this card layout. So the first thing we're going to do are the slices. So the first thing when I'm saying slices, we're going to do these cuts. These 2 cuts, those are the only 2 cuts we're going to do. So bring in your card, and you're going to place the right edge of your card at the 1 inch mark. And so I'm doing it the 1 inch mark to the right of the cutting line. So there's my 1 inch mark. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's 1 inch all the way down. And I'm going to use my cutting blade for this. And see how there's some play. Let me just kind of move that out of the way. There's some play. And what I mean by play, let me pull this in. This kind of moves up and down by about maybe a millimeter, okay? So if yours does that like mine does, I want you to make sure that that play is pushed all the way down to the bottom, okay? Now, I'm going to take the little tick marks that are here on the side of my cutting blade, and I'm going to place it at 1.5 because I know that I need to be in 1.5. And how do I know? Because I'm right there. Right there, that's kind of what we're going for. So I'm in 1.5 inches, 1 inch down. So place it at 1.5, and we're gonna go until we hit 9.5. Okay, so you're gonna go from 1.5 to 9.5. And I know that's probably out of the screen there, but there was 1.5 to 9.5. Not too bad. That's all we're gonna do, right? Now we're gonna take it out. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take the play out of this wiggle room. We're going to move it down. Make sure you're on 1 inch. Line up with 1.5. Pierce the paper and pull your cutter down. I'm just trying to move this for you so you can see. And stop at 9.5. That's it on the cutting. That's all the cutting we're going to do. So let's get that cutting blade out of the way. I've moved it up to the top. And I'm actually not even going to use my scoring blade. I'm going to use my stylus now because I can see more what is going on here. Okay, so now I'm going to start using some measurements on this side. So I'm looking at 1.5. So right now, the step that I'm on, so I've done these 2 cuts or slits or slices, whatever you want to call them. Now I'm starting with scores. And so I'm going to do this one that's at 1.5 inches away from my edge. And it's going to go from top slit to bottom slit. Okay. So I've got that at 1.5. Now I'm going to take my stylus and just add it in here. And the reason I'm using the stylus is I can see these much easier, these slice lines where I need to stop and start, much easier than if I'm using my scoring tool. It's just a little bulky. Okay, so our next measurement that we're looking for, our next score line, is going to be between the two slits at 2 1/4. So I'm going to walk this out to 2 1/4. Whoops, that's 2 1/2. We want to be at 2 1/4. Okay, same thing. I'm going to go from that top slit to the bottom slit. Okay, now we're going to move out to 2. So we just did this second one. Now we're going to do these. Okay, so we're not going to score in here. We're going to score this little 1-inch piece and this little 1-inch piece. So we're going to move this out to 2 3/4. And we're going to score, so from the top of our cardstock to that little slice line, and then again from the slice line to the bottom of the cardstock. And there you have it, folks. You are halfway, more than halfway finished because we've done the 2 slits. So that's the one side of scoring. Now, rather than having to figure out what the measurements are over here, just rotate your paper 180 degrees and let's do it all over again. We're going to put our edge at 1 1/2. Okay, shut your trimmer. And you're going to score from slice to slice. You're going to move it to 2 1/4 and do the exact same thing and score from slice to slice. Okay, move it to 2 3/4 and you're going to score from top to slice and slice to bottom. Okay, there it is. So it may have looked difficult, but that's all it is, folks. That is all it is to create this stair step. Now, how to fold it. So if you want to just take this top row of folds, we are going to have a fold that's going to go mountain, valley, mountain. Your first fold is always going to be a mountain. So we're just going to train that as a mountain, and then we'll train that as a valley, and train this as a mountain. Okay? Now, next row is this middle section of scores. And you always start with a mountain. So we're going to train this as a mountain fold. Okay? And we'll kind of push this one down. That's going to be a valley fold. And this one's a mountain. Then we have a valley fold. And then this last one is a mountain. So just train it for now. And I can see I need to switch that one. It needs to go down. So this is going to be a mountain and a valley and a mountain. So once you have that, it looks something like that. Let me kind of stand this up a little bit so you can kind of see. And then this one's a valley. This one's a mountain. That big middle one's a mountain. Okay, so now what we want to do is just kind of work this. Let's just kind of, coax it into place. Don't force anything. We're just training it, giving it just a little bit more pressure. And then you'll see that all of a sudden you can just kind of bring everything up and it just kind of folds in on itself. So again, let's review every row of scores. So this top row has 3 score lines. It always starts with a mountain, valley, mountain. This next row, this big chunk, has 4 score lines. It has 5 score lines. You're going to start with a mountain. You always start with a mountain. Okay, bottom one has 3 and it starts with a mountain. Okay, so now what you can do is as this kind of works into place, kind of give it a little bit of help. Now that you've trained it, now let's really kind of say, okay, this is going to be for real here. And I'm just going to come in and give a nice burnish with my bone folder on each of these folds. And so some of these folds are underneath, right? So let's see, we can grab this one. You might have to turn things, well, you'll definitely have to turn things up and over just in order to get them all crispified. And don't forget these 2 right in here. And you can just feel that it all of a sudden starts to shape up just the way you want it to. Okay, so that's the main mechanism. Here's the double stair, okay, the double stair step. Now, let's make this a little bit more like a finished card that I would like. And so this piece here is 5.5 inches tall, because that's the height of our card, right? And then it's 5 3/4 inches wide. Along the long score line, I can turn this over, you're going to score at 1.5. And that's already done for you. And how did I come up with that 1.5 inch piece? Or why is it 1.5? You could do a smaller tab here and glue it to the back. But I felt that if we did a 1.5 inch piece, that 1.5 dies or dives, either one. It dives right into this fold. And now all you really see is these two raw edges. And to me, that was the cleanest way of doing it rather than having a raw edge all the way down. It just hides the mechanics a little bit better. So that's why I chose to do that at 1.5. But now I feel like it finishes the card better. So let's go ahead and put some glue on here and glue up our card back to the card front. But that's, to me, when you have this type of card, that just, I mean, yeah, it fits in an envelope, but it's stupid. So that's why we're adding a piece to it. We are Lizifying it. Okay, just make sure that it, okay, great. Kind of burnish that adhesive. Okay, just rub that in. Okay, so now look at this. We have a big grande card here, very fancy. So now what we need to do is we're going to cover this. We have very specific pieces of paper. So in your stack, you had a piece that I said, do some clouds. That was out of the largest piece. Well, I've already done my clouds and I've done my stamping. So I need to rob the piece from another kit here. Hold on. I'll pull it out of tomorrow's kit. So here's my kit for tomorrow. So you have another piece of white in there. I already did all my stamping and die cutting. I used mine up. But in the prep, it said to die cut 6 clouds across the large. So this is the largest piece of white that was in your packet here. So you die cut 6 clouds. Mine are done. But this piece is going to be for stamping. We'll set that aside. Now, the pieces that you have left over, this piece will go on the front. Then you have 2 small pieces that are going to lay there. And then you have a layer here for the inside of your card, okay? And so we can glue this one on. Let's just kind of glue it and get it in place. That way, we're just kind of putting some of the pieces together so we don't have as many loose pieces hanging around. So this is a 4 by 5 1/4, okay? So just your basic layer right there, 4 by 5 1/4. Thank you, Kat, for your comment. Excellent instruction. I hope it made sense. Maybe I'll make a video of just that. Okay, and then these two white pieces are 3 by 3 1/4, and they layer inside these 2 main sections. We're not going to glue those on just yet because we've got some designing to do with them. So set those aside. Same with our big circle there. Set that aside. Let's look at this piece right here and let's do some stamping. So let's bring in a little bit of scratch, and we're going to bring in Memento because I'm going to use Stampin' Blends. Again, you can use Stampin' Blends, or if you're going to watercolor, then use archival ink, use waterproof ink. And we're going to stamp. I'm also going to be using my basic black writer. And I'm going to stamp the raccoon with the balloons. And we're going to stamp the alligator. And so let's do that first. And you also should already have die cut a whole bunch of clouds. 6 clouds from one side here. Okay, so now I'm going to do my alligator here. Cute, super cute. And I'm going to do my raccoon. Do the whole thing here. I'm just going to kind of, well, we'll put it over here. No, we'll turn it around so it fits better. Okay. Now, I'm going to clean the raccoon. And we're going to ink up just the balloons. And the reason I'm using my marker is so that it's easier to ink up the raccoon's balloons without having to mask any of the raccoon. So make sure this is dry. So what I mean is you could take your ink pad and just kind of ink that up. I'm trying to get the strings of the balloon without getting any of the raccoon's ear or face. So that's why I chose to use a Stampin' Write marker. This is one of the new ones. And so I'm just going to kind of follow these strings down to his fist. And then I can kind of let loose up here, right? I just need that precision when I'm down here at the bottom of the strings. So just keep it right in there because we want to create a nice, huge balloon bouquet for our alligator. Okay, so stamp it just like so. We're going to do this 3 times. So there's 1. Okay, a little precision right in there by his ear and face. And then let her rip. And let's do another one. And we'll do another one last. Okay. Done with that. So we'll just kind of do this on the edge right there. Okay, so now I have my balloons and everything I need. So we're going to die cut all of this. So we'll bust out our dies. Notice I said die cut. We're not fussy cutting that. Are you kidding? So we know that this is going to go right on here and that we can cut out our raccoon, right? Same thing with the alligator here. I know it's upside down, sorry. We'll die cut the alligator. But this is what I wanted to share with you, is I already have those die cut out, is we're going to take our raccoon and balloons die here, and we're going to kind of wrap it around the balloons, just like so. So just frame it up like you would normally. Let's run this through. So we're going to have the die cut do most of the fussy cutting for us, and then we'll do one last tiny little bit of fussy cutting. And let me tell you, this is probably the easiest fussy cutting I have ever done. Keeping it real easy here. Now you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to follow right up these strings like that, and then just follow down this line. And there you're done. Okay, so mostly die cutting, just a tiny little bit of fussy cutting. Easy, easy. Keeping it easy. So that is all of the stamping we're going to do. So we've got 3 bundles of balloons that you need. You need your raccoon and you need your alligator. Okay, these need to be colored. The rest are die cut images that are already in color. So let's color these and have some fun. We're going to use all the same colors we've been using. Whew, we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of coloring. Okay, so we'll start with the simplest coloring. And let's see. Let me open my card so I have a muse to look at. So here on my raccoon page here, it looks like I did his mask and his tail and some of the balloons. So I'm just going to set this. Let's see if I can make it so you can see it. Okay, so raccoon, you're going to be, I'm going to use Pebble Path on the raccoon. So I'm going to do light Pebble Path around his eyes. And I'm going to make sure I kind of try not to get any of the ink into his eyes. But just do his mask. And we'll do his tail. Okay, just swooshing some color on, nothing real fancy. Whoops, well, I didn't really want this end, but I'm just going to intensify the pebbled path kind of right along where they have those little dashed lines. And then maybe I'll do just a little bit in and around these edges. I'm just adding a little bit of dark and then I'll blend it just so that we have not such solid color. I want it to blend and be a little bit more interesting than just one layer of color. Okay, so that's great on my raccoon. Now let's give him some balloons. And so his balloons are going to be green and lemon lolly and blue. So I'm just going to use all of those. And you know, I'm really not even going to, I'm probably not going to add any of the darker color. I'm just going to kind of do a quick swoosh in each one so that they kind of have that transparent look of a balloon. That. And let's just kind of color all of these balloons. I know that on the front, I noticed I didn't have any green, but we're going to add some green, some more green. Let's give this one a green balloon too. Just a quick swoosh of color. Now let's add some blue. These are all the lighter of the blends. These are the light. And if you wanted to go in and add just a little bit more detail to them, go for it. But you get the idea. Okay. And you're just having some fun creating just different colors for this balloon bouquet. Go back to yellow here. Nancy says, love this set. It is cute, isn't it, Nancy? Now, I'm glad that you mentioned that you love this set. And maybe you've noticed it or not, in the new little mini catalog, the September-December catalog, there is a set of, and it's, when you open, I don't remember what page it's on, but it's on the right side. And there's a set of animals that are kind of cute and crazy fun, that are all Christmasized. They are drawn by the same designer as Zany Zoo, and they're in the same proportion. So they don't necessarily go together, but if you wanted to put the two together, you could. So that kind of makes it fun. Okay, so raccoons and balloons are done. Let's turn to our alligator here, and let's pull out some lemon lime twist. And so I'm going to start, and I'm going to just hit each of these little, Jolinda, what are these called? These little, they're not spines, they're not fins. What are they? She does not know her animal anatomy at all. That's okay. Crikey. So I'm just adding, and I'm going to switch to my brush tip here since this is a larger area. But I'm going to concentrate up here on the top. And I might, kind of leaving some, if I have some white space, I like that because it's kind of natural highlights. And we'll get his little arms. I'm going to be green. And maybe just a little bit down here on his legs. But I want his belly kind of white. And then let's go in with some of the darker. Kind of add that in here. And so I'll just kind of hit some of this. Make these little, what are they called? Not scales. Help me out, folks. But give your alligator some character. Okay? Give it a little character here and there. And then we'll blend that with more of the light. So much for a white belly. But just blend it, have some fun. And while you have your green out, I'm going to hit these little leaves with green. This is a leaf down in here. Okay. Now let's do a little detail on his bike. He's going to have a blue bike. And we're going to have some yellow basket action, and we have some petal pink flowers. How's that? So our flowers are going to be petal pink. Just swoosh some color in there. And our basket is going to be lemon lolly. And you know, this is such a small area, you don't really need to blend anything. And then his bike is blue. A little blue there. Just kind of the frame of the bike will be blue, and that will just kind of tie us back to our main color here. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of pebbled path. And I'm going to use the light pebble path. And so we'll let him sit on a seat, and then we'll do our tires. Just real careful. What's cool is with the blends is as they lighten, as they dry, they lighten. So cute. There we have it, folks. And of course, we'll give him a little wink. Makes him just all glittery and fun. You know, just swoosh a little here and there. And let's give some wink to the balloons. I think that helps to kind of give them that, that illusion of being transparent. Okay, good enough. All right, there you have it. So now it's time to put some of these elements all together. Let's start with our alligator. And so our alligator is going to, let's bring this in so you can see. Let me take this out of the way so I don't get ink on anything. So there's our alligator, and we need to stamp happy birthday. So our alligator is going to kind of sit in here like so. And here I said, get the ink out of the way. We need the ink. Happy birthday to you. Let's stamp that kind of, and then we'll frame it, kind of put it right in here so that the tail frames it. There's happy birthday to you. The nice thing about stamping a circle is it doesn't have to be straight. You can straighten it as you're putting it on the card, right? Always kind of nice. So let's kind of twist this so that happy birthday to you is straight. And now we'll put him on with dimensionals. And you might not want to put dimensionals on the front tire, but you can on the back tire because that one's going to get definitely will be on the circle. But I did a little mini there in his tail, and we'll do a mini kind of right there, and one more mini right in there. But like I say, this front tire, it's going to be hanging off the edge, so you might want to move it way up to the top, like that, okay? Just move it way up there. Okay. I think this is going to be Finn's birthday card. He turns 3 in October. October 16th. I think he'd get a kick out of it. I'm going to have to cover that smudge with a balloon. Okay, so here's my little, it's kind of like my ode to E.T., you know, the bicycle riding up in the sky. So there's my first. And so we're just going to kind of add these balloons to create a little bit of a balloon bouquet. This little alligator is delivering a balloon bouquet. Well, maybe we will do this one. But they're just kind of coming out from his back as if they were tied to his basket, and they're flying behind him. So arrange those the way you like them. And we'll put those on with dimensionals. So, and this first layer, I almost cheated and didn't get it all the way down to him because these will cover that up, right? Just kind of cheat that right there, like so. Cute. Super cute. Super, super cute. Yeah, on my original, I only did yellow and blue balloons. I guess because I was thinking, there's enough green on there already. Just add these balloons in here. Great. And so now this piece is ready to add into our card once we get that ready. I'm going to prep this little raccoon here so he's ready to go into the card. Now we have a little bit more trimming of DSP. You'll notice that I have pieces of our DSP highlighting our different folds, really accentuating them. So let's do those pieces now. Here's my card base. We'll move that out of the way. And my pattern and everything else. Bring your DSP back into play here. These are the 3 pieces we're going to use. And so our first piece, I'm going to rotate this around like so. So that that flag that we cut out there is down at the bottom. And I am going to cut, let's see here. We're going to go this way. And I'm going to cut a 3.5 inch piece. Is that what I want to do? Nope. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to do 1 1/4. Okay, so we want to do a 1 1/4 inch strip. So I'm adding this edge to at 1 1/4. Okay, there's 1 1/4. Had to think about it for a second. By 3.5. So 1 1/4 by 3.5. Okay, make sure that you set this one out of the way because this is the one you want. You want 1 1/4 by 3.5. And that's going to be this piece that sits right there. Okay, so but while we have the flowers out, we're also going to cut one that's going to be 2.5 by 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to take it off this top side here. So 3/4 of an inch. So just kind of move it around and find the best use of your paper. There's 3/4 of an inch by 2.5. Okay, easy enough. And that will be one of the top panels or the bottom. So save that one. We're done with this piece, I think. Or do we have 2 of those? Oh, we have 2 of those. We're not done with that piece. So let's do that one more time. Let's do a 3/4 inch strip. Okay, by 2.5. Okay. Now we can definitely put that one aside. Now this one here, we're going to do with the stars. We're going to do the same thing we just did with the flowers. We're going to have one that's 1 1/4 inches wide by 3.5. Let me bring this down a little bit. So 1 1/4 by 3.5. And then save that. Then let's do another strip that's 3/4 of an inch wide. Since we don't have that flag in the way. There's 3/4 of an inch wide. And now we want a 2.5 inch piece and a 2.5 inch piece. So that way we have just the same pieces that we have with the flower. Okay, now with our last print, we don't need the 1.5 by, or 1 1/4 by 2.5 or 3.5, whatever it is. We are only going to do the, let's see, where did I put that piece? Where's my dots? I lost my dot paper. Did it fall on the floor? You guys, I just had it 2 seconds ago. Holy moly. Is it under my, yep, there it is. Now, this one, 3/4 of an inch. Okay, we'll set that aside by 2.5, and we need 2 of those. Okay, these are all these funny little rectangles. So that's that. Now we need to do it with one last piece of paper, and that will be it. Let's go back to that chevron that we had at the very beginning, and let's trim this to 3/4 of an inch. And we need 2 at 2.5. And that would be all, that's going to be all of the pieces you're going to need. And I'm going to bring all of those out so that you can kind of maybe, if you want to take a screenshot, you can, but I'll show them to you so that you see them all. Okay, so we have, these are 3/4 by 2.5. So we have 2 chevron, 2 black and white dot, 2 black and white stars, and we'll put them over here, 2 flowers, right? Then we have, these are the only 2 that are different, okay? So that's everything you're gonna need. Okay, so remembering, these are all 3/4 by 2.5. These are 1 1/4 by 3.5. Okay, so now let's add these. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of those, that's where those 3/4 inch strips go. And then the others are here. Now, I chose to leave these 2 free. They are just a place for the eye to rest. If you want to cover them, go for it. I'm not. So I'm going to take my stars, and the stars are going to go right there. Your star pattern, I should say. Right. And so I'm just giving it, I'm making it, you know, right level with those slices, but I'm giving myself an even border on each side. So from the score line over. So just giving it a nice clear layer right in there. So now I want to kind of go opposite of the black. I'm going to do the white. So our next 2 colors will be the white dot, and they will go up here and here. Okay? So just some little glue there. Cool, we can cover up that ink spot that I have on there. And again, give yourself even borders on both of them. Okay, right here. Okay, so since we had black or white here, then we'll move to another black pattern on our next 2 spots. Fill these in. And just layer them in there. You've got, you know, an 1/8 inch all the way around because they're 1/4 of an inch downsized from the area. Okay, there's that. Now, since these were black, we'll go back to white. We'll do the flowers. Okay, couple more here. Ah, Tracy is on. She's watching. Hello, Tracy. And we'll put that one on. Okay, 3 more to go. Okay, it's kind of the brainless work, you know. It doesn't take a whole lot of creativity to put these on, right? Okay, so we'll add that one. And then we'll put these last 2, and then we can put our circle on. I'm going to do this one up here. Wiggle it down just a little bit. And same thing with this one. That one goes right there. Okay. Looking good, looking good. So now the whole card shuts like so. Now see, it does do this sometimes. You just have to push it back in. All right, so that looks good. To me, this fills the space of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 better than without the flap there. Okay, so this pattern I have seen similar, but not these exact measurements. So anyhow, just know that that's where you're going to find it, is here. So now our little flying dude here is we're going to just put dimensionals on this part of our of our circle, because we don't want any dimensionals to show on the back, right? So I'm going to do one dead center right there, and I'm just going to kind of wiggle these really right close by, and that's where that's going to attach. So let's do that. Okay. And just make sure that the happy birthday is straight. Okay, so there's that, and good, no dimensionals show on the back. Now, on my original, I've actually done a little bit of coloring of the flowers. I did the same thing on this, and that is I just colored the ones that had the leaves showing. So I did that with Petal Pink and with Lemon Lime Twist. I'm just going to do a couple, and then you guys can kind of fill it in from there. So I colored the ones with the leaves. And then you guys can continue and do more of them. There's a few more in there, but for time's sake, you guys don't need to see me color in little tiny flowers. But here you can see I'm using the Petal Pink and the Lemon Lime Twist, just to give it a subtle patch of color right there, okay? You can do it or you can skip. Now let's skip to these two panels here. So what are we doing with those two panels? So first off, we need to make sure we've got the right orientation. So, because they're similar sized, so you want them to be 3 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches tall. So that's the orientation we're going to work with here. I'm going to bring my scratch paper back in, and I'm going to bring out some ink pads. So I'm going to bring out, these are the cup pads we're going to use. We're going to use Lemon Lime Twist, Balmy Blue, and Boho Blue. Okay, so we'll start with Lemon Lime Twist. So you need a blending brush that is a lighter green, and we're going to just create some grass. So ink up your brush, offload that harsher, darker, because you don't want it to be, you'd rather have less is more. So across the bottom, I'm just creating a little bit of grass action. So we're going to do the exact same thing to both pieces. Just make sure you're working with them vertical. So you want them to be 3 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches tall. Okay, so there's my grass. Now I'm going to switch out to a different brush here. This is Balmy Blue, and so this is going to be kind of the lighter part of the sky. And I'm just going to kind of blend into that green a little bit. There's Balmy. Blend into the green a little bit, just like we did. Okay, ooh, got it a little dark. But now I'm going to switch to Boho Blue. So here comes Boho Blue. I'm not even going to change brushes. It's close enough. But I am going to ink it up really well and then offload a good portion of it. Okay, so now I'm just going to blend into that Balmy Blue. And it's a subtle change. But I like leaving parts of it white because it just kind of feels like sky, right? And same thing over here. Just add a little bit of that Balmy Blue. Blend it into blend the boho into the Balmy. Okay. That is it. That is it for those colors of ink pads and blending brushes. Now let's finish this up and we'll glue these in place so that we can add the last little bits of our decor. So just a little green cap glue here. Kayleen is on. Hello. Hello, hello. Okay, so I'm just going to flatten this out the best I can. And we'll set this one right inside. Shoot! Oh, where's it coming from? Where's the blue ink? It's on me somewhere. Oh, lovely. Somehow I got blue ink on everywhere. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so not as bad as the first card that I dropped the stamp in right on the inside greeting. This one, how would I fix this one? I would just cut another piece of this and cover it right up. Okay, so lift up your circle and set this one in place. Oops, come on, wiggle. Okay. So like I say, since I have more of this, I'm just going to put a piece right over it. You're never going to know, and that smudge is going to go away. So I think we have to share how we fix our shortfalls of when things go wrong. Okay, so let's see. Here I had you cut some trees. So we have some shorter trees and some taller trees. Okay, and I think I had you cut 6. We only need 5. So I'm going to use 3 large, 1, and then we'll do 2, 3, and we'll do a small in here and a small over here. And in your smalls bag, you have another banner. So let's stamp that banner right now. We're going to stamp it with the same greeting we stamped it with earlier. Something great to celebrate you. Okay. Ta-da. Good. Better than the first one I stamped earlier today. That's the last of the, is that the last of the stamping? No, keep this nearby. We're going to do just a little bit more stamping with it. But let's finish this up and let's add dimensionals to this. Okay. And we're going to, because before I put my trees on, I kind of need to know where this is, because this is going to kind of help with everything else. So this is going to stretch across the bottom here, and it's going to go down here at the bottom. And so maybe lift that so you can see where I'm putting it. Well, I'm going to go a little bit higher, right about there. But you want it straight. Right now I'm not straight. Okay. So there you can kind of see where that's going. Now I can place my trees here. And so I'm going to put my trees on with minis. Where's my mini? Stack here. And so we'll do just a single there. And maybe, does a big one fit? Oh, good. That'll keep it from twisting. And so I'm going to do just a little pair of trees over here. And so I have, this is the small tree, is kind of right in here. And then this is, oops, that's the large one. The large one's going to sink down just a little bit. And then this shorter one, I'm going to show just a little bit more of its trunk. So it's a little higher. Just a little bit of variation there. And you die cut yourself 6 clouds. So I'm going to put 1 cloud is going to go kind of right over these trees. That's our first cloud. And our second cloud is going to come over here. We're just going to carry a little bit of this inside, scenery and make it look a little, give it more of the illusion of him flying in the sky by adding 1 more cloud right in there. Okay. Talk about sticky fingers. Okay. So I'm going to wait for these where I know I'm going to put those, because I'm going to bring the raccoon in. I already gave him dimensionals. But once I set the raccoon in place, then I can really create this little scene. So we're going to use 3 trees and 3 clouds on this scene. So he's going to go here, just like that. He's so cute. And we'll add our trees. So this is a tall tree. And this is going to go behind his shoulder here. Cuteness. And here's another tall tree. Oops. Hope it doesn't show. I kind of didn't put it in the best spot. This one's going to kind of come down low. And then this one, it's going to set right down in there. right down in there like that. Cute. Now let's do the clouds. So 3 more clouds and that's it. Again, those should have been, if you checked the prep work, those. And so this is going to kind of go behind this tree and behind the balloons. And the other 2 are going to come over here on this side, creating that triad formation of elements. So I have 1, I'm going to do 1 up above, 2, and then I'll do our 3rd right down over here. And 3. So cute. So there's all of our scene. Now, our ribbon. This is great ribbon. I love this. I love the width of this. So this is part of that ribbon duo combo pack that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to take this and we're going to take our card, and this is going to wrap around this side here. And I'm going to tuck it under my banner here. Just kind of wiggle this around. You have plenty of ribbon. You'll probably be cutting some off. Tie yourself a bow. And I want that bow to kind of fall pretty close to where this cloud is. So let me even up my ends just a little better. Okay, twist, twist, twist. Right. Okay, so we'll just tie this bow, and then we can kind of slide it into place if we need to do a little bit more wiggling. So again, I'm making sure that my ends are flat, and I'm kind of pulling on these this way to train them. And let's see. Pretty good. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, so now I'll trim my ends because they are a little long, especially this one over here. I mean, I like a good bow. If you're going to do it full out, right? So there's that. And now do make sure that you kind of tuck that under. That. And I am going to slide this up to the top just a little bit more. Okay, so now when this shuts, come on, shut for me. Now when it shuts, you've got a little bit of action. You know, you've got that cloud shows through, your bow definitely shows, and a little bit of that banner shows. Let me even up my bow just a little bit. Okay, there's that. And now let's do just a little bit more action. So most of this is, well, this is all done except for adding some gems. You can add the last of your gems wherever you want to put them. So I have those ready. And then you have happy birthday. And happy birthday, this is, so at the very beginning when we used the celebrate from wanted to say, this is the happy birthday from wanted to say. So you're going to need to punch out your little hanging on dudes. Mine don't seem to want to punch out. There they go. Sometimes you have to come in at them from the back. And sometimes you don't. But before we actually put these on, we're going to do just a little bit of blending with the green. Kind of bring that in. This one is really stuck. There we go. Just tell it who's boss. Okay, and stuck to my finger now. So let's just take these out. So poke those out. There we go. And one last one. Yay. 20 minutes later just to poke these out. Holy cow. Okay, so make sure that's all cleaned away. Let's just do a tiny light haze of green. I'm not even going to re-ink, but I'm just going to do just kind of up in here some of the green. Okay, that shows up. It doesn't need to be like too strong, too in your face. And then let's add this with our precision tip glue. I still have one hanging on-y. It's poked out, but it's like holding on for dear life. It's like, no, you're not invited to the party. Go away. Okay, so, and you don't have to put glue everywhere, just in a few places. and that will hold it secure plenty. So we'll put the happy on first, and I'm just going to center this. There's happy. And look, it still came to the party. No, I'm telling you, you got to go. Well, it's hanging on for dear life. It's not going away. Okay, and a little bit more glue. So with this little precision tip that Julie gave me, I just squirt our green cap glue right in. It's fabulous. Okay, for getting into those teeny tiny little nooks and crannies. So I'm going to put this right on like so. Just put it how you like. And then last but not least, we're going to do just a little bit more of that confetti that we did at the beginning. And so we'll just add some, like the confetti cannon came out and exploded. We'll just do it in a few places. We don't have to do a whole bunch. Let me turn this way. Okay, and we'll do just like we did on those first cards, and that is to give just a little bit of color to these. Whoops, not the end I was planning to use, but we'll go light. Okay, we'll just hit a few of those pieces, and then let's do a little bit of that petal pink, and that'll take us back to the little bit of petal pink we put on the front here, and the flowers that are on the front. Okay, there you have it, folks. And if you want to splatter with a little bit of Wink of Stella, you can. And you can add your remaining gems wherever you want to. So I'm just going to add mine. Come on. It takes a little bit of training to get these to fold just the way you want them. So I'm going to I did a couple. You have iridescent gems. I'm using up my basic rhinestones. So that's actually a large. There's a medium, and I have another large here. We'll put it down in here. So just have fun and add gems. Add as many as all of them that you have left or whatever you want to do. Have some fun. But there you have it. There is the double stair step. Kathleen, if you're still here, did it seem as hard as when you saw the picture? Let me know. So there you have that card. So there's our double stair step. And then we have our fancy fold, right? Our, where we've got all these different layers going. And then we have our fun stage. We've created our fun little stage card. Oh, look, I grabbed the original because it doesn't have the mix-up on the inside. So I hope you enjoyed this. I think it's a fun suite. Please share what you make with it. Here's one more card. We didn't use this one this one wasn't one of my muses that I was using, but it is still kind of fun. It's all the same elements. Just wanted to share that with you. But share with us, with one another, any cards you're making with Zany Zoo or anything, and have some fun. Fun with it. I will catch you guys. So tomorrow night, 6:30 Mountain Time, will be a Zoom session. Our Zoom session, it's 901-771-5257, and the password is ink spots in all capital letters. That is always going to be the number and the password, unless I have to make a change. But that is the plan. So if you're like, I can't get on, then something's going wrong on your end. It's 901-771-5257, ink spots. Okay, there you have it. Tomorrow night, come join along. We will be making these again. Do have your prep work done, because I'm going to barrel through that part. So I will see you tomorrow night. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.